We don't really know the future. We live life as if things will just go on the way they are, and that's good um, because we can't predict the future anyway. There are some things that we can kind of think, well, I think that might happen, but there are many things that could happen that we don't really know if they will or not. But sometimes we're reminded of the fact that we don't know the future and we don't know what's going to happen. When I in the United States and I sold cars for a couple of years. I worked at a Ford dealership, and we sold new Ford and Lincoln Mercury cars, and we also had a used car lot. And I was a better used car salesman than a new car salesman because I found that a lot of the people that were coming in to buy new cars, or at least a fair percentage of them, the reason they were buying a new car was for one of two reasons. One is they had made their last payment on the car that they had, and they thought, well, we have that money now, let's buy another one. And so they would buy another car, even though they didn't really need one. Their car they had was good, but they thought, well, we can make a payment on a new one, so they would buy a new one. Or the other reason that some people came in to buy new cars was that one of their relatives or their neighbors bought a new car, and they thought maybe we should get a new car too. Um, Now, used car customers were often people who needed transportation and they were looking for their car was much worse shape and they needed transportation. The other thing that made used cars easier to sell was that because we were a Ford dealership, our new cars there was a lot of competition on pricing because if we had a car and somebody liked it, they could go to another dealership and order that car, exactly the same car, if they could get a better deal at another dealership. A used car, if we had a used car on the lot that someone liked, the chance of someone else in the area having the same car was pretty slim. So we made more money on used cars than we did on new cars. And I got paid a percentage of the profit on that the dealership made on each vehicle. Um, so um, uh, my pay for selling a new vehicle wasn't as much usually as my pay for selling a used vehicle. We also did financing of vehicles through the local bank. One of the owners of our dealership was the president of the local bank, and so he could approve loans for cars. And we had good financing. We had good rates on financing, the same as if people would go to the bank because it was through the bank. And then we could sell the insurances on the loan. We could sell disability insurance and life insurance so that if a person got sick or a person died, that the insurance company would pay off their loans. Many times on a new car, I could make as much money as a salesman selling the insurance as I did on selling the car. So when I sold the new car, I really encouraged people to finance it with us, and then if I could sell the insurance, that would add to my pay. I found that very rarely did people ever submit any claims for the insurance, but it was the uncertainty of the future that helped people to buy the insurance. However, one time I had a man came in and he wanted to buy a half-ton pickup truck. So he wanted a new one, and so I showed him some trucks, and he found one that he liked, and we made a deal, and he bought it, and he had been retired from the military, so he had a military pension, and he was working at Alcoa Aluminum. So he had his pension plus he had his job, so he had plenty of cash, and he bought the truck, financed it, bought the insurances on the truck, and so about a month later, he came in and to get his truck serviced. And while his truck was being serviced, he came over and talked to me, and we chatted, and we had a bright red Ford Elite in the showroom, and he was looking at that car, and saying how nice it was. Yeah, it is a nice car, and yeah, I could tell he liked it, but you know, he didn't really need a car, and he had just bought a new truck, and so um, well, he had a nice visit while he got his truck serviced, and then he took his truck and went home. After he left, the sales manager came out to me and said, "Did you sell him that car?" And I said, "No, I didn't." He said, "You could have." I said, "No, I couldn't. Like, he doesn't need a car. He just bought a truck. He doesn't need a car, and he has a good car." And the sales manager said, "But I saw the way he was looking at that car. You could sell him that car." I said, "I don't think so." And he said, "Well, let me tell you something. Tomorrow, you take that car, you go to his house, and you tell him that you saw him looking at that car and you thought he might like to take it for a drive. And if he agrees to take it for a drive, he will buy that car, whether he needs it or not." Okay, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So the next day, I took the car out of the showroom and I went down to his house, and his house knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I just saw you looking at this car yesterday, and I thought maybe you'd like to take it for a drive." So, I don't know. It's, "Oh, sure, come on, it doesn't cost anything to take a drive." And so he's like, "Oh, okay, sure." So he drove it and was talking, "Well, how much would it be?" And we worked it all out. I got him a deal, and he bought the car. So now he had a truck, and about 6 weeks later, he bought a car. He financed that. I sold him the insurances on the car. About 2 months later, he came in and said, "You know, I have been having heart trouble, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that I really cannot work another day in my life. I'm done working. I won't be able to ever work again." And so he filed a claim with the insurance companies, and the insurance companies paid off his truck and they paid off his car. So he had a truck that he had made maybe 3 payments on, a car he made maybe 2 payments on, and the insurance company paid the rest. When he bought them, he had no idea that he was having any health problems. He had no idea that anything was wrong, that he would ever need those insurances. But we just don't know what lies ahead. We can't predict the future. The Bible says, don't say, tomorrow we'll go here and there and we'll do this or that, because we don't know what tomorrow holds. And it's just a good reminder that the future is not under our control.